everybody? This is LA Knight back again because I have some feels about a thing that I need to talk to you guys about. So, who's ever heard of The School for Good and Evil by Soman Chainani? I'm a terrible person. Actually, in this particular instance, I don't feel as bad as I would normally because of some of the things that I have to say about this book. But we're not going to go there yet. First, we're going to talk about what The School of Good and Evil book is about. So I read the first one actually a while ago, and I always meant to write a review, but then I kind of forgot about how I felt about it. But I just recently started reading the second one, and it all came rushing back. Of course it did. And so now I want to do this review before I, lose all my vinegar and venom so that I can talk. And before we continue, I do want to say that I actually did enjoy reading this book. And I liked most of it, but there were certain things that I didn't like, and I didn't like them with a very intense dislike. I would say hate, almost. There were things that I loved, but there were things that I hated. So, The School for Good and Evil is about these two girls, Sophie and Agatha, and they're best friends, although, the start of their friendship was because Sophie wanted to fix Agatha, which I've seen that before, and it worked out okay in books sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. And they both end up getting grabbed for basically fairy tale school, and Sophie is like your typical blonde, likes to wear pink and bedazzles everything with rhinestones and is like super careful about her complexion and likes to wear makeup and wants to marry the prince and she's basically she'd be a great trophy wife, basically. And then Agatha is like your typical book version of a goth kid. She wears, super clumpy black shoes and baggy black dresses that don't fit, and her hair looks like she cut it by putting a bowl on her head, and she doesn't take care of her skin, and she basically has no social skills, apparently. But somehow her and Sophie are best friends, and then they get taken to magical school, and you think that Agatha is gonna get sent to the wicked side, and Sophie's gonna get sent to the good side, but actually Sophie gets sent to the wicked side, and Agatha gets sent to the good side, and both of them feel like fishes out of water. Fish out of water. Fishes. I hate that word. Fish. I feel like it should be fishes, and it's not fishes, and so it doesn't sound right, but it doesn't sound right when you say fish either. Anyway, and a lot of craziness ensues, but Sophie ends up falling in love with, and I'm going to say love, even though it's a very selfish and self-centered love, I still think it's love, ends up falling in love with this dude named Tedros, who's like the son of King Arthur, and I'm like, dude, bad genes right there, yo. But apparently nobody comments on this, but he's the son of King Arthur, and he's one of the hero kids on the good side, and Sophie falls in love with him, but she's wicked, so of course, even though she's like super hot, and Tedros is like, wow, she's super hot, he's also like, wow, she's probably super evil, and is like, yeah, I'm not going to give her the time of day, and so he treats Sophie like crap, and so Sophie, spends an inordinate amount of time after she, gets done moping about being stuck on the wicked side. She spends an inordinate amount of time trying to woo Tedros, and it actually works, and she does get him, and everyone's like, oh my god, what the heck, a good and a wicked can't, they're called evers and nevers, but they're basically like, a good kid and a wicked kid can't hook up, that's never gonna happen, it's doomed to fail, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Agatha's just like, I don't want to be here. I want to take Sophie, and I want to go home, and Sophie's like, I don't want to go home, and Agatha's like, son of a bitch. So, while Agatha is stuck doing, lessons that she thinks are stupid to try to become a princess or whatever, also it turns out that if you don't get a lead role in a fairy tale by the time you graduate from school, you get transmutated into some kind of object, like the pumpkin from Cinderella, or, a rat. And so it's like, oh, she can either, excel and do the best that she can do, or she's basically gonna die, because she's gonna get turned into a pumpkin. Or, something. And it's like, well, that's fun. Whereas the Nevers, it seems like they don't really have that kind of a problem. Seems like they can, there's plenty of evil people out there in the world casting magic and wreaking havoc and, putting curses on people, apparently. So, Sophie is like, we gotta get out of here. Or Agatha's like, we gotta get out of here. And Sophie's like, but I love him. And Tedros is like, I love her. And all of his friends are like, dude, no. So they come up with this plan that they're going to win this competition that they have every year, Sophie and Tedros together, a never and an ever together for the first time ever, and they're going to win it together, and it's going to be great, and it's going to break all the barriers. Well, this doesn't work, and Tedros is like, man, you know, Sophie's such a bitch, and I hate her, and I don't want to be friends with her anymore, and the whole ever-never pairing thing was a terrible idea, and somehow this leads to Agatha becoming Sophie's arch nemesis, and Sophie starts going crazy, and it turns out this whole thing was like a master manipulation by the storyteller, because he's a lonely, bitter, old, evil man, and he wants a girlfriend, and so he's gonna go out with Sophie. Who, by the way, is like 12. Her and Agatha and Tedros are like 12 in this. Well, actually, Tedros might be like 14, but whatever. They're like 12 in this book. Okay, and like I thought. Okay, so that's basically the plot. And they end up, you know, friendship and sisterhood. Sophie and Agatha manage to kick ass, kill that guy, and go home. And it's great. And they get their happily ever after together. And I was like, that's a really cool ending. So there was a lot of things that I liked about this book. And I'm going to be talking really fast because I have a lot of feels about this book. And I've actually talked to my husband about this in the car, like not even 10 minutes ago. And I was like, you know what, well, actually it was probably like 15 minutes ago now because we're about 6 minutes into this video. And I was like, you know, I should probably just like record my podcast now while I've got it all in me. And he was like, yeah, you should do that. So anyway, so I really liked a lot of things about the book. Like, I liked the exploration of Agatha's character. I liked the fact that we could have, like, a fairy tale heroine who was not your typical, you know, I'm going to say Disney-fied as, like, a term that everyone will understand what I mean, but I don't actually mean Disney-fied. But Disney-fied princess, like, you know, the classic Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, Cinderella, like, you know, I sing 2 birds and clean house. Someone who wasn't that person. I thought that was, you know, an interesting thing to do, and I liked that, you know, maybe Sophie could embrace her inner wickedness and, you know, kick ass that way, and they could still be friends. Like, I thought that would be cool that would happen. And I thought it would be interesting if Agatha got, you know, a super nice boy, or if Sophie did, if Sophie managed to, like, revitalize the wicked, quote-unquote, industry and make it so that it didn't all have to be, you know, crooked-nosed hags riding broomsticks, to quote Charmed. And so I really liked a lot of the build-up of this book, and I liked the world building, a lot of it. There were some things I didn't like, but I liked a lot of the world building. I thought the school was interesting. I thought the swan motif with the white swan and the black swan was kind of cool, and the book itself is the copy that I have is very pretty. I like the strength of the friendship between Sophie and Agatha. That is like the book's best quality. I love that, and I like the fact that although at first they don't like her, and then they do end up liking her, but then they turn against her, it really, in the end, Sophie's roommates are most of the time pretty much here for her and are willing to support her, unlike Agatha's roommates, who are bitches. And I like that it shows that just because you're on the quote-unquote good side of the story doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good person. And that brings me to the things that I hate. So let's talk about Tedros. Oh, let's talk about Tedros. I hate Tedros. That kid's a little shit. I hate him. I want him to get hit by a bus. And I realize he's like 12 or 13 years old, and I realize that he's got like the worst gene pool ever because he's the son of King Arthur, who's got to be one of the stupidest kings in legend that ever happened. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? You remind me so much of Chad Charming from, oh my gosh, what's it called? That Disney movie, Descendants. Chad Charming's a bad guy in that movie. He's a little dick, and I hate him, and I don't like Tedros either. And it's like, okay, Sophie, like, I get because you're, like, all about appearances and stuff that you would fall in love with Tedros and want to get with him because he's, like, the best-looking hero in the thing, and he's, like, you know, the top-tier hero in the school somehow, for some reason. But but Agatha, I expect you to have a little more sense in that, because you should be able to tell that Tedros is a little dick. And apparently she can't tell, because she ended up falling in love with Tedros, too. And, you know, like, I don't like seeing, because I think this is one of the stupidest things that girls in real life could possibly do. I don't like seeing 2 super good friends fighting and coming to verbal or physical blows with each other over a boy who treats them both like dirt. Oh my god! I mean, I realized that, like, once Sophie started wooing him, like, Tedros eventually was like, no, I love her, and started acting like all Sir Lancelot. Well, we know how that ended, don't we? Both for Tedros and for Lancelot. But, so, you know, I get that, like, after she started wooing him, he was being nice, but he was still a dick to Agatha. I mean, and, like, he was only nice to Sophie because she was pretty. He doesn't love Sophie. He didn't ever love Sophie. And yeah, he's like, yeah, I never loved you. It was a trick. No, it wasn't a trick. It was your hormones. You're a teenage boy. And she's pretty. Oh my god. And I should say, not just you're a teenage boy. You're a straight teenage boy because there are plenty of non-straight teenage boys who would not go for Sophie. You're a straight teenage boy, and you're an idiot, and your dad is a man whore. And yeah, okay, I know that everyone's like, well, Guinevere and Lancelot had sex, so technically isn't she the whore? And isn't Lancelot the man whore? No, King Arthur had so many liaisons because he couldn't knock his wife up. Oh my god. Anyway, I have a whole lot of feels about King Arthur in general and the Arthurian cycle, which were brought on in a new wave for me because my husband watches this show called Radio Dead Air, and the host was talking about King Arthur and the Arthurian legends in his either this past Monday, as in, and I don't, the past Monday of when I'm filming this. I'm filming this on the 30th of April. So either it was the Monday before the 30th or the Monday before that, and I remember getting super mad while I was watching him talk, because I'm just like, you don't know anything at all about what you are talking about. And in case you're wondering why I'm going all staccato, I'm hitting myself in the forehead for every syllable that I say, for that little string of statements, because that was so frustrating. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that right now, but, so, you know, Tedros doesn't care about Agatha at all until she gets that magical makeover, and he's like, oh, she's actually really pretty. And I'm like, hey, dickbag, she's always been pretty. You're just too shallow to notice. Fuck you. Sophie's actually really cool, and so is Agatha. And they don't need you, and your hormones, and your teenage boy stupidity. Go away. Ugh. Oh my god, I have so many feelings about this book. This is probably going to be really ranty. I apologize. But I don't know what the author is trying to do here, because on the one hand, he presents this really strong girl friendship that manages to survive all this magical shit, and, like, they're even arch nemesi, we'll go with that. They're even arch nemesi. Sophie and Agatha are arch enemies. Like, it's like a magical thing. It's like the opposite of soulmates. It's like negative soulmates. So they're like negative soulmates, but also positive soulmates at the same time. And I'm like, that's so cool. But then on the other hand, it's like, yeah, but, you know, Tedros. And it's like, no Tedros. Nobody gives two flying fucks about Tedros, except apparently everybody in this fandom who thinks that Tedros is great. And I'm like, no, that kid is a little douchebag. Get rid of him. Kill him. I don't care. Do something. Oh my god, I'm sorry I'm yelling. I'm like super emotional about this book. Like, this is the way that I normally am when I talk about books. It's just that then when I sit down to record, it's after work, and I'm usually so tired I don't have it anymore. But I only worked a 4-hour shift today, so, you know, there's that. So, okay, Tedros. We've already talked about Tedros. And let's also talk about the fact that the way Sophie is portrayed. Okay, Sophie is selfish. I will not dispute the fact that Sophie is kind of selfish. I get it. She wants things her way. She wants a perfect life, and in some ways, she's not afraid to step on certain people to get that thing. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, the reason she's like this is because when she tried to do it the right way, it never worked. Because nobody listens to her, except Agatha, sometimes, most of the time. And so it's like, okay, you're gonna take this stifled, angry, super smart, super pretty girl, and then wonder why she's so pissed off that she's gonna, you know, step on people who are being mean to her anyway to get what she wants. And yeah, okay, she's kind of shallow, like, oh, that kid's ugly, I don't want to date him. But you know what? Look at how everyone else treats her. It's like, oh, she's really pretty. Let's make a judgment based on the fact that she is pretty. And so she has adapted to the world that she lives in, and she is punished and portrayed as being evil for that. What is it that they say in Ever After? The movie with Drew Barrymore, I'm gonna paraphrase here. So basically what you're saying is, you first make shallow, vain girls, and then punish them for being shallow and vain. You punish them for the you punish them for the behavior which their first education disposed them towards, I believe is, like, close to what she said. Except she was talking about thievery, but the point is the same. And it's like, okay, so the culture that she, and like people are going to say, well, you know, Agatha's not like that. Yeah, okay, but Agatha actually did the complete 180, and instead of trying to work the system, which is what Sophie did, she basically was like, fuck the system, and tried to do her own thing, which is also in itself admirable. These two girls actually probably came together, really, and the reason they're such good friends is because they're both being fucked by the system, and they both realize it. It's just they're handling it in different ways, but they both acknowledge the fact that they've both been fucked by the system, and they both acknowledge the fact that they're handling it. Just, you know, not in the same way. So I don't like the way Sophie is portrayed as being inherently flawed and evil because she's inherently evil because she's flawed. Okay, first of all, she's 12 fucking years old, alright? Like, okay, she wants to be pretty. Is that a crime? Can you not be pretty and good? Like, because the thing is, all the other pretty girls that are Evers, they're all bitches. They're mean. Oh my god. So it's like either you can be like Sophie and be pretty and be evil, or you can't be pretty, because the only one who's pretty, who's not evil, is Agatha, and she's only magically made pretty, and she doesn't like it. So it's like, what? Can you as a girl not be pretty and like the fact that you're pretty and still be a good person? Like, I don't think that's what the author was trying to say, but that's what he said. Like, I run into that a lot in conversation with people. People will say things, and I think part of this is because I'm autistic, and so I take things as they're said, not as they're intended, and then we talk about what they were intended to be in conversation. This can lead to some hang-ups sometimes. But so, because I don't read subtext of what people mean to say if it's contrary to what they said. So I take what people say at face value most of the time. And when I say that, I don't mean like, oh, okay, I take what you're saying at face value and so people can put one over on me. I mean, if you say something that means one thing, but that's not what you meant, I don't know that that's not what you meant. I think you meant what you said. And in this instance, but I also try to give the people the benefit of the doubt. So the thing is, I don't think the author was trying to say this, but he said it. Okay? There is not a single pretty girl who likes the fact that she is pretty, who is comfortable wielding her beauty, who's not evil. Because Sophie is evil. She's wicked. She's a wicked witch. They make her a wicked witch, and she chooses to reject that part of her, but as of book 2, she's still struggling with it. And it's like, no, why does it have to be one or the other? Why is it beauty and evil, or plain and good? Because the Evers are not good. They're horrible people. And if they're the ones who are burning down the village like I think they are, then they're really evil. Oh my god, because they're killing people. So, that is a thing. Also, there was that whole thing with Tedros and the thing in the forest where Tedros and Sophie were going to team up for that contest, but then they had to make it to the end of the night, and so, but Sophie can't do magic because she's spending all of her time trying to look pretty and trying to educate her fellow wicked girls, her fellow female nevers, that it's okay to be pretty and be evil. That's the other thing. It's like, well, we can't be pretty and be evil. Well, why not? The Evers are doing it. And so she, isn't very good at magic, so Agatha's helping her out. So basically, Agatha and Sophie spend their whole night, most of it, turned into, I think, bushes or something? Anyway, but then finally Tedros, stumbles out, and he's looking for Sophie because they were gonna meet up at a certain part of the forest and then make it to the end together, and he's being attacked by demons. Now, the thing about shapeshifting in this book is that if you shapeshift and then shapeshift back into your human form, you're naked. So, and you also don't have anything. You don't have any clothes. You don't have anything. You can't. All you've got is what you grabbed when you were in that form. So, when Tedros is being attacked in the forest, and then he needs help, he's probably gonna get killed if he doesn't get any help. And Sophie and Agatha are like, oh shit. And Agatha's like, dude, we should go help him. And Sophie's like, how are we going to do that? 1, we're naked. 2, we don't have any weapons. 3, we don't have any magic because you're used up and I don't know what I'm doing. So how exactly are we going to help anything? And Agatha's like, well, we got to do it. And Sophie's like, but we will die. Why would we do that? I mean, and Agatha's like, I thought you loved him. And she's like, well, I do, but I don't want to die. And it's like, okay, so she doesn't want to die. Well, then, so Agatha is like, well, F this shit, I'm going to do it anyway. So she goes, and apparently this is supposed to prove that Sophie doesn't love Tedros, but Agatha does. And I'm like, first of all, Agatha doesn't even know Tedros, okay? Except as the dick who makes fun of her. So, first of all, she does not love Tedros, unless you're saying that, a boy being mean to you is a valid basis for true love, which, fuck that shit, I ain't doing it. And nobody else should either. First of all, Agatha doesn't know Tedros, so she can't be in love with him at this point. And second of all, Sophie brings up a good point, which is, what are they supposed to do? Agatha went into this fight naked, with no weapons, not knowing what she was going to do, and luckily happened to grab something that would keep her from not being killed. And Tedros got mad about this. Now, okay, I can understand getting mad at the beginning of the altercation and then being like, Sophie, why didn't you save me? But he didn't, and then, getting over it when he realized, oh, wait, you didn't have anything. You couldn't do anything. But no, he's still like, I should have known. Nevers will always be evil. I should have dated Agatha from the beginning. It's like, you don't even know Agatha! Actually, I don't even think he said that, but the thing about I should date Agatha from the beginning, I don't know, it's been a while, but I do remember he was like, man, later he was like, man, I should have gone out with Agatha instead because she's so much better than Sophie. It's like, fuck you, man, you don't even know them! And it's like, I'm sorry, oh my god, I have so many feels about this whole thing. I think this whole love triangle between Sophie and Agatha and Tedros is like super fucking stupid, okay? I'm sorry. I realized like the whole point was like he's like the catalyst where they realize that they love each other more than they love him, except apparently they don't, which is why I'm now having this like 20-minute rant about this book that I actually really liked, and I hate the fact that I have to, like, I do this sometimes. I have a very critical view of a lot of the books that I like. Hang on, I have to take a drink. I have a very critical view of the books that I like. Like, I like Harry Potter, but I can rant about that damn thing for hours. And I really like Throne of Glass, but I can rant about that damn thing for hours. And I really like Twilight, but I can rant about that damn thing for hours too. And so, you know, this book, although not as influential as those three series, I like this book, but I can frickin' rant about this for a while. Although I'm starting to wind down because I've covered almost everything. But yeah, so the thing in the forest, where it's like, okay, yeah, Sophie's actually, like, legitimately evil. I'm like, what? No! Okay, she's pragmatic and she's fucking 12 years old. I mean, I don't know too many 12-year-old girls who are gonna run out from behind a bush to get slashed with a sword, buck-ass naked, in the middle of a forest, to save a guy that they've only been dating for like a month. And I'm like, and not that like 12-year-olds don't know what love is, because they do. And I know a lot of people actually don't think that. I think that 12-year-olds really do. Actually, when they fall in love, I think it's real. I think it's real love, but that's not the point. The point is that just because love is real doesn't mean that it is entirely selfless and perfect and awesome. It's going to have hang-ups and it's going to be flawed because 12-year-olds are flawed. So are 14-year-olds and 16-year-olds and 20-year-olds and 25-year-olds and 50-year-olds and 100-year-olds. Okay? I know a lot of adults who like love somebody but aren't going to throw themselves in the way of a sword for that person. Just like I know a lot of 12-year-olds who maybe would. So, it just depends on the person. But not doing that, not throwing yourself into the middle of a killer swipe of some kind of weapon that will kill you you're like defenseless just to save the person you love, who wouldn't be able to defend themselves after that anyway, doesn't necessarily mean that you're an evil person. It just means that you're not necessarily one of those people who's gonna do that sort of thing. And so, like, the fact that that is the thing that makes Tedros be like, oh, Sophie's totally evil because she wouldn't die for me. Like, bitch, mind your entitlement, okay? Check your privilege. Just because you're a prince and you're hot doesn't mean that girls should be throwing themselves in front of swords for you. You take sword fighting lessons for a reason, bitch! Ugh. And then, okay, let me see. So I talked about the fact that, like, I don't like the way that Sophie's portrayed and how, like, beauty and evil seem to go together in this book. And I don't like the fact that Tedros is like, I should have gone out with Agatha, blah, blah, blah. And the whole thing with the forest, okay? And, like, I really don't like the fact that Agatha is in love with Tedros because he treats her like garbage. He treats both of them like garbage, actually. Because, and for a stupid reason, Agatha's not pretty. So he won't give her the time of day. He makes fun of her and he laughs at her and he's mean. And it's not like a huge deal. And I think the reason it's not portrayed as a huge deal in the book actually is less because of the author being like, oh, boys, make fun of girls and it's not that big of a deal. And more the fact that Agatha, like I was at that age, is so used to being made fun of, she doesn't really, not that she doesn't care, but she's basically like, yeah, okay, you and everyone else, laugh it up, blah, 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 fuck you. And is more focused on, important shit. She's not going to get hung up over some stupid boy. She's going to be like, all right, I want to go home. And oh, God, I don't know. Like, Tedros I hate him. Fuck. I really don't like that boy. He ruins everything. I want to stab him in the face. And I'm sorry, because he's like 13 years old, and I'm 28, and that's terrible. But I'm just like, you know what? I don't want my 12-year-old daughter, when I have one, swooning over a dick bag like you. Because you're an asshole, and I want to push you off a bridge and watch you drown. I just think, I don't know, I feel like a lot of this could have been done better without Tedros. Also, there's a lot of, like, sapphic, I think that's the word, sapphic? Sapphic context? Sapphic subtext going on with Sophie and Agatha, and it never goes anywhere. And I'm like, I don't know if this counts as queer baiting or not, because I don't watch enough things that have queer baiting in it to be able to be like, oh, queer baiting every time I see it. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? I feel like this book would have been 10 bazillion times better if Tidros, like, got pushed off a cliff and Sophie and Agatha realized they were in love with each other. Or something. I don't know, because I would, like, and probably there are some Mormons listening to this who are like, oh, Cass, but, you know, the law of chastity. It's like, okay, you know, we're not even going to talk about, that right now, because that's a complicated issue for a podcast that is not already 25 minutes long. But I would rather have those two as antagonistic as they can be to each other. I would rather have the two of them, Sophie and Agatha, being together as, you know, happy little bisexual girls than either one of them being with Tidros, the abusive, shallow dickbag. I don't like Tidros at all. If he is going to get with either of them, he needs to smarten up, like, now. And the thing is that, not even if he's going to get with them, if they're going to fall for him, now that they've, like, grown up a little bit as of the end of the first book and realize that there is nothing more important than their friendship. Nobody is going to love them as much as they love each other, except maybe love themselves. But their parents, their town members, fellow townspeople, and all that aren't going to love them as much as Sophie and Agatha love each other. And Tidros sure as hell is not going to love either of them as much as they love each other. And so now that they've realized that, or they realized it at the end of the book and apparently forgot it between the end of the first book and the beginning of the second book, because I'm only on page, like, 30, and I'm, like, ready to stab a bitch. But now that they figured that out, I feel like Tidros needs to, like, take a back seat and grow up a little bit before the girls start being like, I miss Tidros. But you know what? 30 pages in, what does Agatha want? She wants her fucking handsome prince from Camelot to come in and, like, be a thing with her. And I'm like, you have your best friend in the world. You are also 12 years old. You will find another boyfriend. He may not be in the village, because all those village kids are idiots. But, you know, I'm sure you'll find somebody. It doesn't have to be that dick. So, yeah, that was a lot longer than I thought it would be. I told my husband this would probably only take, like, 10 minutes. I was so wrong. But, yeah, I don't like Tidros. And the reason I don't like Tidros is because he has all the makings of an abusive little dickbag, and he treats the girls like shit, and ruins their character development, and doesn't really need to be there, except as, like, an obstacle. He does not need to be there as a goal. And right now he's a goal. And he shouldn't be a goal, because boys should not be a goal over your friends. And now I realize that Sophie and Agatha, their friendship, like, was really rocky at the beginning. And yes, I know there's that whole trying to kill you thing. But, like, the fact that they were doing that over a boy bugs the shit out of me. And the fact that they were doing that over a boy and now they both still want that boy bugs the shit out of me. Oh my god. I can't even. So yeah, I really like The School for Good and Evil, but if I ever recommend it to somebody, I'm going to be like, I'm going to recommend this book to you after you listen to my super long, gigantic rant about it first. Also, the whole caricature of witches that the guy uses in his book, totally anti-Semitic. The long, hooked noses, and the warts, and the sharp, gnashy teeth, and the bald heads, and, you know, I don't, maybe he didn't know. I mean, a lot of people don't know that, like, your stereotypical crooked-nosed hag witch, minus the green skin, is a caricature of Jewish women. And the whole thing about witches eating children, that ties into this whole thing that a lot of evil so-called Christians did, where they said that Jewish women specifically, grabbed Gentile children and cooked them into little, I forget what it's called, some kind of Jewish food. And so, like, that was one of the things that Jewish people were persecuted about, was that they were witches, and that apparently they ate Christian kids. And I'm like, did you know that, dude, who wrote this book? Did you know that this caricature is bad? Apparently he didn't know. I'm going to assume he didn't know. I'm never going to assume that somebody is anti-Semitic on purpose. I'm never going to assume anyone is anything on purpose, except good. I'm going to assume that everyone is good on purpose until they prove me otherwise. So I'm just going to assume he didn't know. But, it's still in there. And, yeah, I don't know. And also the fact that, like, anger manifests itself as ugliness in a girl is stupid. Sorry, I think I said this already, but, like, the fact that you can be, that if you're this is the thing, it's like, if you're beautiful, then you're evil in this book. But if but if you're beautiful and then you get angry, you turn ugly. It's like, what are they supposed to do? Girls are allowed to be angry. Come on, fuck you. Sophie's allowed to be angry. She's like super sad. And fucking Tedros, sorry, going off again on Tedros, 20 seconds. Fucking Tedros rejected Sophie for the way she looked. I'm like, dude, didn't your dad get his sword from some watery tart in the middle of a lake? I mean, I feel like magic and glamour, it should be a thing that you were taught from the cradle. Like, you should know that things are not always what they appear. So, I kill you. Except I don't, because I can't, because you're fictional, but I would! Oh my god, if I was in this world, I'd be like, Sophie, Agatha, you guys be friends forever, Tedros, go die. So yeah, I'm sorry, that was like a really long podcast, but I have a lot of feelings! So, yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe you laughed. I don't know, I can be a little crazy pants sometimes. I don't know why I said sometimes. Sometimes I can be, really emotional about this sort of thing. And actually, my throat's starting to hurt because I've done a lot of yelling in this podcast. So, thank you guys for listening. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Please, no hate for me bashing on Tedros. I will take and respond to polite comments, respectful comments. I do not accept hate. So, that is a thing. But, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if you guys have noticed similar things in this book, whether you and again, I liked the book. It was just there were things in it that I really didn't like. And like I really loved a lot of the book, but the things that I didn't like, I really didn't like. So yeah, I will talk to you guys in the next podcast. Bye.